The backstage monitor flickered with static for a moment. Then the image cleared, and Bruce Lee dropped the water bottle he was holding. On stage, standing under the spotlight, was a man Bruce had not seen in 17 years. A man he thought was dead. A man who had disappeared from Hong Kong in 1955 and never returned. His first martial arts teacher. Master Wong Sheung Leung's older brother. Wong Sheung Leung. The man who had taught Bruce Lee his very first punch when Bruce was just 7 years old. The man who had vanished without explanation, leaving behind only rumors of death, of exile, of disgrace. And now he was standing on stage at the Hong Kong Coliseum, in front of 12,000 people, waiting for Bruce Lee to emerge. Bruce could not move. His legs would not respond. His mind was racing. 17 years of questions, of grief, of unanswered mystery, all colliding in a single moment. How was this possible? Where had he been? Why was he here now? The stage manager touched Bruce's shoulder. "Mr. Lee, you are on in 30 seconds. Bruce stared at the monitor. The old man on stage was looking directly at the backstage camera, as if he knew Bruce was watching, as if he had been waiting for this moment for 17 years. And then Wong Sheung Leung did something that made Bruce's heart stop completely. He assumed a fighting stance. The same stance he had taught Bruce in 1948. The same stance that had started everything. And he beckoned. "Come," the gesture said. "Let me see what you have become." This is the story of the night Bruce Lee faced his past. The teacher he thought was dead. The secret that had been kept for 17 years. And the lesson that would change everything Bruce believed about himself. Hong Kong Coliseum. June 1972. The charity gala had been organized for months. A benefit for victims of the recent flooding that had devastated parts of Kowloon. Bruce Lee had agreed to appear, to perform a demonstration, to help raise funds. He had not agreed to this. 20 minutes earlier, Bruce had been warming up in his dressing room. Stretching. Practicing forms. Getting into the mental space he needed for public performance. Raymond Chow, the head of Golden Harvest, had knocked on his door. "Bruce, there has been a change to the program." Bruce had not looked up from his stretching. "What kind of change?" "Someone wants to see you. Someone from your past." Bruce had stopped mid-stretch. "Who?" Raymond had hesitated. "I think you should see for yourself." And then Raymond had led Bruce to the backstage area. To the monitor that showed the stage. To the image that had stopped Bruce's heart. Wong Sheung Leung. Alive. Standing on stage. Waiting. Bruce's mind flashed back to 1948. He was 7 years old. Small for his age. Weak. Sick often. His father, the famous opera actor, worried that his son would never be strong enough to survive in Hong Kong. A friend had recommended martial arts training. Not the formal schools that taught rigid patterns. Something more practical. Street fighting. Self-defense. Techniques that actually worked. The friend knew a teacher. An older man named Wong Sheung Leung. Not famous. Not wealthy. But effective. Brutally effective. Bruce's father had arranged the meeting. Wong Sheung Leung had looked at the small, sickly boy with skeptical eyes. "Why do you want to learn fighting?" Bruce had answered honestly. "Because everyone picks on me. Because I am tired of being weak. Because I want to be strong." Wong had studied him for a long moment. Then he had nodded. "I will teach you. But not techniques. Techniques can be learned anywhere. I will teach you something more important." "What?" "How to see." For the next 7 years, Bruce trained with Wong Sheung Leung. Not every day. Wong was secretive, appearing and disappearing without explanation. But when he was present, the lessons were intense. He taught Bruce to observe, to notice details that others missed, to read an opponent's intentions before they moved. He taught Bruce to adapt, to abandon techniques that did not work, to create new approaches for new problems. He taught Bruce the foundation of everything that would later become Jeet Kune Do. And then, in 1955, Wong Sheung Leung disappeared. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most important part of this story is still unfolding. The rumors had spread quickly through the Hong Kong martial arts community. Wong Sheung Leung was dead, killed by a rival school. His body dumped in Victoria Harbor. No, Wong Sheung Leung had fled to Taiwan. Political troubles. Debts to dangerous people. No, Wong Sheung Leung had been arrested by the British authorities. Imprisoned. Forgotten. Bruce had asked everyone. His father. Other martial artists. Anyone who might know. No one had answers. Eventually, Bruce had accepted the most likely explanation. Wong Sheung Leung was dead. His first teacher was gone. The lessons would have to live on through memory alone. Bruce had continued training. With IP Man. With other masters. Building on the foundation Wong had given him. But always carrying the grief of that unexplained disappearance. And now, 17 years later, Wong Sheung Leung stood on a stage in Hong Kong, very much alive, beckoning Bruce to face him. Bruce walked toward the stage entrance. His mind was chaos. Questions colliding with emotions colliding with memories. But his body knew what to do. His body had been trained for this. Not for this specific moment, but for any moment that required action despite confusion. He stepped onto the stage. The lights were blinding. 12,000 people filled the Coliseum. Cameras from 3 television stations recorded everything. But Bruce saw only one person. Wong Sheung Leung stood at center stage. He was old now. 73 years old, Bruce calculated. His hair was white. His face was lined with decades of living. But his stance was perfect. His eyes were sharp. His presence was exactly as Bruce remembered. The crowd murmured. They did not understand what they were witnessing. They had come to see Bruce Lee perform. Not this old man. Not this confrontation. Bruce walked to center stage. Stopped 10 feet from his former teacher. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Wong Sheung Leung smiled. "You have grown," he said. His voice was older but unmistakable. "You were a sick little boy. Now you are the most famous martial artist in the world." Bruce's voice was thick with emotion. "I thought you were dead. I know. I am sorry for that. Sorry." Bruce's voice hardened. "You disappeared. No explanation. No goodbye? I spent years searching. I thought you had been killed." Wong nodded slowly. "I had reasons. They were not good enough to justify the pain I caused you. But they were my reasons." "What reasons?" Wong glanced at the crowd. "At the cameras. This is not the place. We will talk. But first." He raised his hands into the fighting stance again. "Show me what you learned. Show me what I started." Bruce stared at him. "You want to spar? Here? Now. I want to see if the foundation I gave you was strong enough to build what you have built. I want to see if my teaching lives in your movement." He beckoned again. "Come. Let an old man see his legacy." The crowd had fallen completely silent. They sensed something extraordinary was happening. Something beyond entertainment. Something real. Bruce raised his hands. Not into a formal stance. Into the natural, relaxed position that characterized Jeet Kune Do. Hands up, but mobile. Weight centered. Ready for anything. Wong attacked first. Despite his age, he was fast. A straight punch aimed at Bruce's center line. Classic Wing Chun technique. The same technique he had taught Bruce 40 years ago. Bruce deflected. Not blocked. Deflected. Redirected the energy. Flowed around the attack like water around a stone. Wong smiled. "You remember." "I remember everything." They engaged. Not a real fight. A conversation and movement. An exchange of techniques and counters. A dance between teacher and student that spanned nearly 4 decades. Wong threw combinations that Bruce had learned from him in 1948. Bruce responded with variations that had evolved through years of training with other masters. Wong used angles he had never taught. Bruce adapted instantly, finding counters that Wong had never seen. The exchange lasted exactly 4 minutes and 23 seconds. When it ended, both men were breathing hard. Wong harder than Bruce. Age was undeniable, but Wong was smiling. Truly smiling. The smile of a man who had finally seen something he had been waiting decades to see. "You surpassed me," Wong said. "I knew you would." But seeing it, he bowed deeply. A formal bow. Master to master. "I am proud of you. I am proud of what you have become. I am proud of what you will still become." Bruce's eyes filled with tears. "Where were you?" The question hung in the air. Wong looked at the crowd, then back at Bruce. "I was in prison," he said simply. 17 years. In mainland China. Political crimes. "They only released me 6 months ago." The crowd gasped. The cameras captured everything. Wong continued. "I could not send word. I could not let anyone know where I was. To contact my family, my students, would have put them in danger." He reached out and touched Bruce's shoulder. "But I thought of you. Every day for 17 years, I thought of the sick little boy who wanted to be strong. I wondered if you had kept training. I wondered if the seeds I planted had grown." He gestured at the stage, at the crowd, at the cameras. "And now I see. The seeds became a forest." Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. Bruce embraced his teacher. There, on stage, in front of 12,000 people and 3 television cameras, Bruce Lee held Wong Sheung Leung and wept. Not sobs. Just tears. The release of 17 years of grief and questions. The crowd did not applaud. They understood they were witnessing something too private for applause. They simply watched. Witnesses to a reunion that transcended entertainment. When Bruce finally released Wong, he turned to the audience. "This man," he said into the microphone, "taught me my first punch. 40 years ago. I was 7 years old. Sick. Weak. Nobody thought I would amount to anything." He pointed at Wong. "He saw something in me that no one else saw. He taught me to see opponents. To adapt. To create. Everything I am started with him." Wong shook his head. "No. Everything you are was already inside you. I only helped you find it." Bruce smiled through his tears. "That is what the best teachers do. They do not create. They reveal." The crowd finally applauded. A wave of emotion that filled the Coliseum. But Bruce was not finished. He turned back to Wong. "You said you had reasons for disappearing. You said they were not good enough." Wong nodded. "I want to hear them anyway." Wong was silent for a moment. Then he spoke. "In 1955, the political situation in Hong Kong was complicated. I had friends on the mainland. Colleagues. People I had trained with in my youth. They asked me to come. To help establish martial arts programs in the new China." He paused. "I was idealistic. I believed I could help. I believed I could build bridges between traditions that were being destroyed by politics." His voice grew heavy. "I was wrong. I was arrested within months. Labeled a counter-revolutionary. Sent to a labor camp. 17 years. Bruce listened in silence. "The thing I regret most," Wong continued, "is not the 17 years. That was my mistake. My consequence." He looked at Bruce. "What I regret is leaving you without explanation. Leaving you to wonder. To grieve. To carry questions that had no answers." He bowed again. "For that, I ask your forgiveness." Bruce was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. "There is nothing to forgive. You made a choice based on what you believed was right. The consequences were harsh. But the choice was honorable." He placed his hand on Wong's shoulder. "And you came back. You could have stayed hidden. Started a new life. Pretended the past never happened. Instead, you came here. To face me. To explain. To ask forgiveness you do not need." He smiled. "That is courage. That is what you taught me 40 years ago. To face difficult things directly. To never run from truth." Wong's eyes glistened. "You learn well. I had a good teacher." The rest of the gala continued. There were other performances. Other speakers. The charity raised millions for flood victims. But everyone who was there remembered only one thing. The moment Bruce Lee was reunited with the teacher he thought was dead. The 4-minute exchange that proved martial arts is a conversation across time. The embrace that released 17 years of grief. After the gala, Bruce and Wong talked until dawn. They sat in Bruce's home. Tea grew cold. Hours passed unnoticed. Wong told Bruce everything. The prison. The labor camp. The years of isolation. The day of release when he learned that his sickly student had become the most famous martial artist in the world. "I cried," Wong admitted. "In my cell, alone, when I heard your name. I cried because I was proud. And because I had missed so much." Bruce told Wong everything in return. His journey to America. The struggles. The rejections. The development of Jeet Kune Do. The films. The philosophy. Every step. Bruce said, "I wondered what you would think. Whether you would approve. Whether I was honoring what you taught me or betraying it." Wong shook his head. "You cannot betray what I taught you. I taught you to find your own path. To reject dogma. To keep what works and discard what is not." He smiled. "Jeet Kune Do is exactly what I hoped you would create. Even though I never imagined it would exist." As dawn light filled the room, Wong asked one final question. "What comes next? What will you do with all you have built?" Bruce thought for a long moment. "I want to teach. Really teach. Not just techniques. The philosophy. The way of seeing. What you gave me when I was 7. He looked at Wong. "I want to do for others what you did for me. Find the sick little boys who want to be strong. Show them what they already have inside." Wong nodded slowly. "That is the true transmission. Not techniques. Understanding. Each generation adds to what came before. Builds higher. Sees further." He touched Bruce's hand. "You will reach further than I ever could. You already have. But the foundation remains. The seeing I taught you. The adapting. The creating." He smiled. "That is my legacy, not my techniques. You." Bruce Lee saw Wong Sheung Leung 3 more times before Bruce died in July 1973. Each meeting was precious. Each conversation added to Bruce's understanding. Each moment filled the gap of 17 lost years. Wong Sheung Leung lived until 1985. He spent his final years teaching in Hong Kong, passing on the same principles he had given Bruce 40 years earlier. He never became famous. He never wrote books. He never appeared in films. But everyone who trained with him in those final years noticed something. A photograph on the wall of his small training hall. A young Bruce Lee, maybe 8 years old, throwing his first punch. And an inscription below. The forest that grew from a single seed. June 1972. Hong Kong Coliseum. 12,000 witnesses. A teacher returned from the dead. A student who had become a master. And a lesson that echoed across 4 decades. The best teachers do not create. They reveal what was already there. They plant seeds and trust the sun. They disappear, sometimes for 17 years. But the foundation they build never crumbles. It only grows. This story is a work of fiction inspired by real-life themes.